I first met Jack in 1978. Probably the first association I had with the bloke was 77. My brother got picked for the New South Wales team in under-18s and he stayed at Jack Gibson's place. The following year I was picked for country and we played at Tweed Heads and I was training and the bloke tapped me and said, that bloke there wants to talk to you, it was Jack Gibson. So he was with Johnny Brass. I went over and Jack said, I've come a long way to watch you play, because Jack was a South Sydney coach those days. I didn't sign with Souths. He watched me play, come up to me after games, said, I'd like to talk to you. They gave me an offer, but I wanted to come to Parramatta because we just signed Artie Beetson. Artie Beetson played those 2 years in 79 and 80. He was a great forward, and I was a running sort of forward, and he was just a great ball player. And also Mick Crone was from the country, so it was an association, the fact that great Mick Crone had come to Parramatta. Anyway, so I didn't play with South Sydney. Anyway, at the end of 1980, I got a phone call from Jack Gibson. Jack says, I'm finally going to coach, eh?
I was wandering around and I got a call from Jack Gibson probably about a month after I'd give it away, and he asked me what I was doing. And I said, well, Jack, I said, I've had a good run. It's about time I gave it a, sat back and let someone else have a shot at it. He said, I think you've got another year left in you. He said, if you're prepared to put the work in, do the hard stuff, he said, you'll just do is play the game that we want you to play. He said, we can use you. And it was the fact too that a lot of, I think Parramatta had about 6 front rowers that all could play first grade, and most of them were all internationals, and I think 4 or 5 of them left at the end of the 80s season. I think Jeff Gerard went to Manly, Graham Olling left to go to Brisbane, Arthur went to Western, so they were a little bit short there, so Jack must have looked at the bottom of the barrel and saw me floating in it and decided to give me a call. So I think just getting a call from Jack Gibson at that time it lifts anyone's spirits a bit, and when I said, well, look, Jack, I'm absolutely terrified of you. I said, you scare me. I said, you've got a great reputation, but I know you don't put up with fools. So I said, I'll think about it and give me a couple of weeks, and if I think I can do it, I'll ring you back. Anyway, I rang back in 2 weeks. I said, look, I'll give it a go. I said, my body's okay now. I think I can handle it, so it's in the lap of the gods.
Steve, I've been told, did you call him Gibbo at some point and get...
Only once.
Only once,
Only
is that
once.
right? Can you tell us about that?
Only once. Yeah, I was down the south coast and Crow picked me up to bring, I was at Vincentia or somewhere, Crow picked me up to drive, so we'd come up together, and it was to meet Jack, and we were all in the room, and I mean there was a lot of experienced players in there, and I'm sure that we were all in awe of Jack. We sort of knew and heard a lot about him. He'd actually coached the Dragons in '71 when they got beat in that grand final. I was on the bench for 3rd grade that particular day, and I remember him coming over and saying, everyone from the 3rds and the reserve grade have got to go across into the 1st grade dressing room to watch the game there, and you've got to keep your footy gear on because you may be going on. And I've walked in the room. I'm just mesmerised by all of my heroes who I'd grown up with, and I was looking at Billy Smith and Graham Langlands and Barry Beath, and I'm thinking, gosh, this is how good is this? But that was just an amazing thing, and that's what Jack was like, because he cared very much for the players as a player as well as a human being. There were things that he'd done, which I'll get onto a bit later on, but he still had this aura about him. Like when you walk into the room, you knew it was there. And even though we were all experienced, I'd played 10 seasons at the time, I think we were all still a bit unsure as to how we're going to get on well with Jack and all this type of stuff. And naturally enough, we're chatting away, and I'm pretty friendly with most people, and I said, Gibbo, and how you going? This is after he'd sort of done his speech and all that type of stuff. He turned around and he said, you keep calling me Gibbo and you won't be playing here. And the room went deathly silent. I don't know whether Jack did it deliberately or not, because 3 weeks later he makes me captain of the side, and but yeah, you could have it just went deathly quiet, the whole thing. He said, you can call me Jack, you can call me Coach Gibson, or Mr. Gibson, or just Coach. I said, certainly.
One of our players got knocked out in reserve grade. And before a game, Jack wasn't always, and they had him on the table in the first grade dressing room. And if you're a player, the last thing before you run out, you want to look at some bloke who's just been knocked out and thinking, oh, that might be me in 5 minutes' time. But anyway, Jack walks in and he knew it wasn't a good look for the other players, and Jack looks at this bloke and says, get that corpse out of here. So they pick him up. It'd be like that, it'd be like when you run out, there's a little hallway, and as we're running back out, here he is laying in the hallway on the stretcher. I said, well, get that corpse out of it.
Little one-liners he always said always meant something. I'll start you. When he says I'll start you, it means you're running out with the team. But to hold your position, to finish the game, it's up to you as an individual. So with him saying that, you had to play well. And 83 came up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, I'm starting you. And I knew what that meant. That meant be ready was another one he's saying. So he had to do all the hard work.
Jack Gibson is a very low-key person. I don't think I ever heard him shout, scream, anything. It's just going through the players one by one. He was very, I thought he was a great man manager. Jack was a brilliant picker of the player he wanted, and as I said, when I went back into the team, I had the easiest year of my life as far as conditioning. I did the training they wanted me to do. I played the game they felt was best for me. And when I did that, things fell into place.
We're doing 4 nights under Johnny Peer as coach, and Jack, the first thing he did, he said, all right guys, we're going to train Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday morning. He said the rest of the time you're going to be spending with your family, because that's the most important thing in life, is your family, and you've got to spend time with them. And you can do extra training if you like and do it in your own time and that, but I want you to be with your family. And then he'd talk, whether you're a first grader or a third grader, he'd give the same amount of attention to you, and that was fantastic. If there were serious selection problems, he'd come and ask probably 4 or 5 of the senior players what their thoughts were. He wouldn't necessarily go with them, but it certainly made you feel to be a real part of the team. He instigated where there were 4 different teams, and we play these games each Tuesday, and the Bear was a captain, and Crow was a captain, Price was a captain, I was a captain, and you get points, and at the end of the year the team that won would get shouted by the rest of the teams, and it became like serious competition, but it was good, and it just added a bit of flavour to your training, and never got bored, and they'd always try different things.
They were a great team. People sometimes try to downgrade one of their values by saying, this bloke more important than the other, but all I ever said about Jack and Ron Massey is they were both happy with each other. They were both happy with each other's contribution, and they weren't together because they agreed on everything. I'm going to tell you. I wonder if they agreed on anything sometimes, but they dead said, and that's why Jack had him there, Ron Massey. Yeah. And Dad said they disagree on a lot, I can assure you.
And Mass would be the conduit between.
Pretty rough conduit.
And that's what, because some players, were still in awe of Jack, and they'd sort of go through Mass or whatever, and he'd sit down there with us, and he'd go through what we, good points, and he'd start off with the the boy with the beard, and that was Paul Taylor, because Jack wasn't good with names and stuff like that, you know. And he'd say, yeah, you did well, and you know, you 7.5, 8 out of 10, and all that type of stuff. And then he'd get to the senior players, you know, he'd say, Edge, you didn't have a good one, did you? I said, no, Jack, no, I didn't have a good one. Well, whatever Jack said, like that, or Cronin, yeah, what did you do? He'd just shake his head. And he said, I'm not going to say that, I'll just move on. And he'd go around like that.
One of his best with that was when he'd go through the players and give them their grading. Ronnie Hill, he had a game that you couldn't think you could have. Well, I probably had a few like it myself, but he had one of those ones, and when they're giving out the points, if you knew you had a bad game, you'd sit opposite your mate and you'd look at him because you knew Jack was coming to him. And Bear and I are sitting opposite Ronnie because Ronnie had a game you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. So Jack goes through them. Say Ronnie's 9, he gets 7, 8, skips over 9. At the same time, he was coming off contract. There'd been talk that he was coming off contract, you know. He was open to offers or the usual thing. But so Jack goes through it, jumps over, goes from 8 to 10. Bear's saying, what about 9, Jack? You know, the old, what about 9? And anyway, he gets through all of them, 13, righto, you can go out and train. And we're thinking, look at this. He said, all except you, Ronnie. He said, the video's set up over the Lees Club. He said, here, go and have a look at it. And as we're walking out, he says, and they tell me Penrith's dropped off. So, but that, for Ronnie had to go over and watch it by himself. And the auditorium only seats about 600. He sat in a little corner, you're up there looking at it by yourself. But yeah, that was one of his best on when he used to get the marking.
Jack would even buy, sometimes he'd go and buy a young kid a car and say, here's your car, because you can't get to training on time or something like that. And that's what Jack was. Or Sam Miguel, you know, the Parramatta football team give a brand new Ford Falcon to Sam Miguel, and of course we'd all donate $200 or whatever it was, you know, so that's $2,600, and there's a 10 grand car, and the rest of the money just came from Jack. And never any mention that. This was from the Parramatta first grade football team to Sam Miguel. And that was just the type of guy he was.